Hey guys, welcome back to the fifth episode of the Drop Lob Pod. I am Nathan. I'm your co-host, and our other co-host over here is Edik. Welcome onto the pod, Edik.
Hey
You
guys,
ready to
how
talk
you doing?
tennis?
Thanks for joining us today.
You ready to talk tennis?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. So there's really only one big event going on in the tennis world this past week, and that was the ATP Finals in Turin, Italy. And that was won today by none other than Jannik Sinner, the former world number one. I believe that much like with the big three of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, there's going to be a lot of bouncing back and forth as to who's number one in the world between Alcaraz and Sinner, especially considering Sinner had a 3-month suspension this year. Um, but the current world number two, Jannik Sinner, took out current world number one, Carlos Alcaraz, in straight sets, 7-6, 7-5. I caught a little bit of that match. I caught the last couple points. Edik, did you catch more of that match than I did?
Yeah, I was able to watch the whole match, and what I can
Amazing.
say is, congrats to Sinner. I thought that Alcaraz did not bring his A game. A lot of questionable choices in terms of the way he was playing. He was coming in a lot, especially off the forehand down the line, and his volleys were just not. He was missing a lot of volleys, or he would put the volley in play, but sort of as a neutral volley, and he would get passed or lobbed every single time. So ultimately, Sinner took it from him. I don't think Alcaraz played his A game. He did have strapping on his right leg, had a medical timeout in the first set. So Sinner takes the latest chapter of this rivalry and is riding the momentum into the new year.
Yeah, and running off of that, Alcaraz has not had as much success on indoor hard courts as he has on other surfaces. Indoor hard courts are usually running faster, as in the ball bounces lower and you have less time to react. Usually favors flatter hitters more. Alcaraz maybe uses a little bit more topspin. That's just my personal take on it. But why do you think that Carlos has had maybe a little bit less success on indoor hard courts than he's had relatively on other surfaces?
It's a good question. I think that, especially in this matchup, Alcaraz likes when there's variety in terms of the conditions. So if there's a little bit of wind or it's hotter, so that he can use the variety in his game. If he's just going toe to toe with Sinner, especially if it's just a ground stroke rallies, I think that he would even say that Sinner is going to outmatch him most of the time, which is what happened today. He did hit some drop shots, not as many as usual. The variety in terms of the slower balls, didn't really see them. Actually, this match reflected a lot of what happened at Wimbledon. I think that the courts were playing similarly. Sinner hits the ball very clean. So if there's
Yes.
indoors with less, with controlled ambiance, then it's going to always be in Sinner's advantage, and Alcaraz can't use his variety. So obviously, still a great player indoors, but in that stale environment, Sinner just excels because of his clean ball striking, and Alcaraz, although he served big, he didn't serve well enough in this matchup.
Yeah, and I mean it's crazy to think that despite the fact that Sinner definitely has that clear edge, it's just a game of such small margins between the two of them. Like as we know, Alcaraz won his first U.S. Open coming back from down a match point against Sinner in the fourth set, 1-5. He came back in that epic French Open battle this year from down 2 sets, saved 3 match points at 3-5, love 40 in the fourth set, 1-5. This year, just now, I mean, like he had set point in the first set on return, didn't get the return in play. Sinner wins in straight sets. Alcaraz was also up a break early in the second set as well. Um, I mean, I think that it would be fair to say that we probably both expect them to be bouncing back and forth in the next couple of years, but we're going to dive more into that throughout the episode because what bigger storyline is there ever in professional tennis at this point than Sinner and Alcaraz? So our next question would be, do we think that Sinner is the clear front runner between the two of these guys at the moment, despite what the world rankings might say?
So personally, I think that Sinner is definitely the front runner. I'll tell you why. Number one, if you take from the French Open on, he was about to win that in 4 sets comfortably, let's just say. And then he won Wimbledon, lost the US Open, and before that, he lost in Cincinnati, but we'll take Cincinnati out because he was injured and he retired. And then he wins in the 6 Grand Slams, and then he wins today. So that's Wimbledon, today, 6 King Slams, and potentially the French. So he could have really have won 4 out of the last 5 of these matchups. Obviously, he lost in the U.S. Open. So I think he has the upper hand. Obviously, he's won 3 of those, not counting the Cincinnati. And I would even say that Sinner had the better year than Alcaraz. We can get into that at a later time. But considering he won 2 big titles, Grand Slams, plus the ATP finals, I don't put as much weight on the world number 1 personally. And he was out for an extended time in the year. I think he's the clear front runner. And I actually think that he has the advantage in this matchup right now, considering the past results.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think that Sinner is the clear front runner right now. I mean, he is aware that what he needs to add to his game in order to catch up to Alcaraz is more variety for certain scenarios. But as you just said, like the French Open, where it's on clay court, which is where variety is the most rewarded, he was still about to beat Alcaraz. I mean, he is as close to a robot as we've seen since Novak. Definitely, not saying that their games are similar, but 2 of the most robotic just ball strikers, ground strokes, clean, consistent, hard, hitting their spots and just not making errors, doing it over and over. That's always going to be difficult to beat. So yeah, I would definitely put him as the front runner. And also, as you said, with the weight on world number 1, he's going to have 3 months next season, assuming nothing goes wrong, to just rack up free points that he couldn't participate in last year. So he'll be snatching that number 1 back relatively easily. I mean, Alcaraz did have some struggles at the beginning of the season himself. So I know that he'll definitely have some spots like Miami Open where he lost in the first or second round to go on. I assume things of that nature probably won't happen to him 2 times in a row. But still, even with that, Sinner's coming in with a fresh slate. And we'll talk.
I just wanted to add something real quick. When I watch Alcaraz today, it really disappoints me, because I'm a big Nadal. I'm the Nadal guy. I'm out of my game off Nadal. I love his discipline. I love his commitment to the cause. And when I see Alcaraz, who's obviously taking the torch from Nadal for Spanish tennis, when he comes out and he plays like he does today, or he plays like he did in the Wimbledon final with a lot of double faults, or he plays like he did at the Australian Open when he lost to Djokovic earlier this year, it just really disappoints me in terms of, I just feel like he could give a bit better effort. He's making dumb choices. Like the volleys that he was missing, I was just very surprised. If you're at that level, he's going down the line with the forehand, and then he's hitting the next volley, a backhand down the line, sort of mid-court right to Sinner's forehand. He's not he's not knifing it short or hitting it back cross court with the short angle. I think he needs to go and watch Nadal highlights, because Nadal was one of the best of all time, in my opinion. When he came to the net, he always placed the volley right out of the opponent's reach, right before the service line, short angles, where he wasn't the best volleyer of all time, but he was an effective volleyer. So I just wanted to say that I was disappointed with Alcaraz today, and it worries me because, yes, he has more Grand Slams than Sinner right now, but he's so up and down, and he's still up and down. And I just wish he was more, clean throughout the match. And I also question his coaches, because I think that Sinner has better coaches than him, and they've made more improvements throughout the year and from tournament to tournament.
I enjoyed that insight. I'm sure the people will as well. That's maybe something that a tennis coach or a little bit higher level of a player will pick up. I didn't see the match today, and I will say that I have seen Alcaraz hit what I'd call maybe a lazy volley here and there. Although for me, I'd just be happy that I'm getting it over the net. But I think that there's a little bit of complacency for him, because obviously these 2 are walking through every other player in the world at every tournament for the most part. So he knows what will be working against other people. And yeah, I mean, I'll go on my own tangent, things I know more about. If we were to maybe make a basketball comparison out of this, Alcaraz at this point would be more of like LeBron, where it's you're undeniably the most or top 2, 3 most talented we've seen or ever seen. He's got the killer instinct. Like, to be clear, and everybody should know, like, the work ethic and the killer instinct he has to have to be at this point is unreal. It's top, like, of all time. But there's still always one more notch that can be reached in anything. And right now, Sinner is reaching for that notch more than Alcaraz is. Alcaraz, I mean, I saw the little mini Netflix doc. I said it once or twice. Like, he said he gets homesick. He said he just wants to be a kid sometimes, like party, have fun. Like, Sinner might be more of like a Jordan type guy where he's just an absolute psychopath for competing. It's all he competing, excuse me. It's all he cares about. It's all he wants. Like, he is hyper fixated and focused on that one goal. And I mean, everybody's got their own personal preferences. Like, Alcaraz might be pleased with where he made it, even with not winning this, be pleased with where he's at in his career and be achieving work-life balance. I mean, even for people like that, like, there is such thing as work-life balance. And if Alcaraz is having a little more fun, taking the training a little less seriously, maybe he's a little bit more hurt than we know, he might be happy with that still. But that being said, like, yes, he definitely was not bringing his A game from even the couple points I watched. And him coming into net and kind of rushing it when that's not something he often does against the best, the player with the best ground strokes in the entire game, was questionable at best. So with that, we do have a couple smaller storylines in the tournament that we'll just touch on real quick. Number one, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Canadian, who's, I believe he's about 25. Don't quote me on that. We can double check ourselves, but Felix is a young player and he's been in the spotlight for a long time, so it makes him feel older to all of us. But Felix was touted at one point as a guy that would be expected to win Grand Slams. He's got very consistent ground strokes. He's got a great first serve. He hits the crap out of the ball. He's very effective on indoor hard. Would you argue, yes or no, that Felix was maybe the third most impressive player on tour for the last 3-4 months of the season? We'll say since US Open on. And do we think that Felix has any ability to challenge these top two on indoor hard, maybe say come next season? Or more accurately, do we think that Felix is going to keep this level up because he's gone up and down a lot?
100%. He was the third best player. He made the semis in the US Open. And in our last show, I said, watch out for him because if he beat Ben Shelton, which he did, he had just beaten Zverev in the US Open, and then he goes on and beats Zverev to make the semis. I really like what I see at him. He's now number 5 in the world starting the new year. And I would put him as my number 3 after those two to win a Grand Slam. And I would put Djokovic number 4. I'm high on him. Obviously, the backhand's an issue, but he pummels the serve and he pummels the forehand. He's got a great attitude, and he was cited or quoted saying how he doesn't feel like the season is too long, that these guys got to stop complaining, that I enjoy and I love playing tennis. And someone who loves and enjoying playing tennis is a dangerous player. So I really like what I see from Felix these last few months.
Yeah, and Felix, I know I also saw at one point a little mini doc on him. His dad was a tennis coach and got him seriously into the game at a very young age. So he's been used to this grind and this training for most of his life. So yeah, I think it's just definitely second nature for him. And he also recently got married, I believe during or right before the US Open. And I know that sometimes for athletes, it doesn't maybe affect their game a ton. Sometimes it tanks in, sometimes it makes them way better. It's great for Felix that made it way better. I think he's one of the favorites on the tour in terms of personality, comes off very likable, very friendly, good guy to root for. And he definitely provides, when he's on his game, a baseline of consistency that's good for other people to compete against. Obviously, he's had trouble in the past maintaining his level, and he's also had trouble rising to the occasion in bigger moments, which is something that he seemed to kind of do in the US Open. So I also hope he can carry it along. Think he looked like the third best player and would love to see what he does next year. In our last topic for the ATP finals, it's going to be a fun one. Jannik Sinner is now 13-0 already against Alex de Minaur. Novak Djokovic holds the record for most wins against an opponent all time on the ATP Tour against fan favorite, and I'm sure probably one of both of our favorites, Gael Monfils, at 21-0, somewhere between 21 and 23-0. Sinner is still in his early 20s. De Minaur is in his mid 20s. Do we think that Sinner is going to smash this record? Do we think that De Minaur can take a match off of him at some point? And do we think they'll play enough? Because I'll actually go first in this one because I'm in a yappy mood over here. De Minaur is a great player in terms of beating players worse than him. He has incredible, probably the best speed on tour. He's very consistent. He has the ability to be aggressive. He takes balls early. He takes time away from his opponents. He doesn't come into matches very often completely like zoned out or locked out. Like, he's good to take care of business. And then on the flip side, he doesn't quite have that power, that finishing ability to really take out the top players. So it's kind of a perfect recipe for him to continuously face off against these top guys and then lose to them subsequently. I don't really see any way he brings any sort of weapons to the table to beat Jannik Sinner. I think Sinner could crush this record. I think it could get to 30-0, 35-0. Maybe Sinner tosses him a bone at some point. Maybe he gets into the sports betting fixing that's been going on here and there around the sports and just says, screw it, I want to be a billionaire overnight. But I think it would have to take something unbelievably egregious at this point to see Alex de Minaur beat Jannik Sinner on any surface. Clay, grass, hard. I just don't see it. What are your thoughts on that, Edik?
It's a good question. And I was just looking it up. Djokovic has 20 wins to Monfils' 0. I know in a couple of those matches, Monfils came very, very close.
Yes.
I think that de Minaur gets a win. I could see him getting a win at like the United Cup or a Davis Cup setting. Probably not in a Grand Slam setting, but I think that he's too good of a player, a perennial top 10 player, where he'll win a match. He'll definitely win a match. Whether that's going to be before Sinner gets to 20-0 or not, I don't know. But I could see it being like 25-3 by the time we're done. And at some point, Sinner is better than Djokovic's record. But I like de Minaur. I think he'll take a match at some point. I mean, it's getting to the point. It's getting to the point.
I gotta plug my laptop in real quick. I'm sorry. I know we're in the middle of the pod, but if my laptop dies, there goes the pod. If you were a betting man, if you were the type of guy that gambled on things, Edik is not. I am, absolutely. Where would you put your money if we set just even odds, coin flip? Sinner loses a match in the next 8, Sinner doesn't. Which side would we find you on?
I think that he will lose a match to de Minaur in the next 8 matches. I think that de Minaur.
Let me butt in real quick. Where do you find that most likely? Surface, and if you want to get more specific, tournament, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, like I said, I think that de Minaur will get him at a United Cup or a Davis Cup type setting, or even a smaller tournament in Australia in the lead up if Sinner plays one of them. Ultimately, I think that, it's a very tough matchup, but he can get it done.
I look forward to revisiting this in 2 years when Sinner is 23. But anyway, that is enough about the ATP finals. And I think we did a very thorough job of recapping that extensively. So with that being over now, this is essentially the ATP's off season for all of our top tour players, mostly like our top 64, as we say, like as Edik has mentioned multiple times, those people that are qualifying for Grand Slam draws automatically, aren't having to go through qualifiers, can get into most big tournaments when they want, are making a fairly decent living for themselves, if not a very good one or a great one, where they can afford to take that month off of tennis and go relax with their family, or go, where did we say everybody was going on vacation last week?
They're all in the Maldives.
Going to the Maldives, going to spend time with their family, whatever it is. If you're Sinner, probably training 10 hours a day anyway. Whatever it is they want to do with that month off, month and a half even. They usually come back with the United Cup, which Coach Edik was just mentioning, which is another country-based team competition. And that'll start ramping up towards the Australian Open, which is in mid-January. They'll have like a tournament in Adelaide, Australia, and Brisbane usually as a ramp up before that. Those are the first ATP WTA events. So for the next month, we do have the ATP Next Gen Finals, which is all the kids under 21, going on between December 17th to the 21st. That'll be a good thing to look forward to. I believe they're just finalizing the participants for that in the upcoming week or two, and we will touch on that in a future pod. And then we also have that Kyrgios and Sabalenka battle of the sexes that Edik and I are feeling a little polarized on. We look forward to seeing, but that's not sanctioned by any sort of tour activity. That's more of Saudi Arabia getting more involved in tennis and dumping more money into there. For everyone else on tour, because there are thousands of people trying to compete and be professionals, there are tons of ITF tournaments that will be going on over the next month. That is the level below the Challenger tennis. So usually you'll find people, I'd say, outside the top 250 in those. It's a great time for those people to gain a leg up and an advantage on everyone above them. ITFs go around literally all around the world, go on all around the world. All 6 countries, not Antarctica. That'd be a little difficult. 6 countries, hundreds of tournaments, plenty of opportunities for players that earn a couple points. They're not going to make any crazy rankings advancements, but maybe getting up 50, 100 spots, 150 if they do incredibly well, giving them a chance to maybe reach that next level of tennis before the next year. Maybe some of the players in the challengers get a chance to go down and rack up a couple more points so they can start the new season qualifying for new tournaments. You have to remember that tennis runs on a 52-week rolling scale for rankings, which means the rankings do not reset on January 1st. At any given point, it is however many points you have accumulated from your last 52 weeks of tournaments. So continuing to play and racking up points so you are at a ranking to qualify for tournaments is huge. And there really are no days off for those outside of the top 65 even, unless you're comfortable losing ground. I personally, as someone that'll put $1 or $2 on tennis here and there, as somebody that's become relatively addicted to watching my free time, I'll be watching here and there on the streams. There was just an ITF next to my place at the USC National Campus. I was watching the finals of today. And I encourage anybody that's watching that enjoys tennis to flip on a stream for 1 or 2 of those and toss some links to everybody. But tennis is fun to watch at all levels. And sometimes there are no fans out there, nobody really watching, but I think it's enjoyable. How do you feel, Coach Edik, about everybody that's below that top 65? Do you think if you're one of those players, you want your own off season as well? Or do you think you really take advantage of this time to grind every tournament you can and see what leg up you can get on those ahead of you?
Yeah, listen, the off season for tennis is a hotly debated topic right now. And at the end of the day, having gone through juniors and college tennis, if you're not inside the top 100 or top 65, there really is no off season. You're playing all year round because you need to get points, you need to get ranking, move up in the rankings. And even for the players who are top 65, let's say that even if you weren't in the ATP finals, you're probably getting 7 or 8 weeks off between your last tournament and the start of the year. Now you're saying, oh, 7 or 8 weeks off, that's nice. Well, if you think about it, you're really only taking 2 to 3 max weeks off so that you can get a full month of training in before you start the new year. Compare that to other sports where you actually have a training block or that preseason block. Preseason, there's none of that. You got to do it yourself. And for these other folks that are inside or outside the top 100, you're playing tournaments, throughout December time because you don't have the luxury. Some of them need the money, so it's just a grind. The tennis is a grind year-round grind. And yeah, personally speaking, I remember tons of Thanksgivings, tons of Christmases that were, bookended by tournaments before and after. So, your holidays are gone, but that's what you got to do in order to make it to the top.
Much better insight than I could give as a guy that hasn't won a tournament match in close to a decade, I'd say. We're looking to change that soon, though. With that, let's go into an extensive dropper lob segment. I showed Coach Edik a couple of the questions I was going to ask him. We always leave them for each other. We don't discuss what we're going to answer. We like to be surprised. But I'm going to add a couple more here for you today because I'm feeling like firing off some questions at you. And we'll see what you think. So drop or lob, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First topic, drop or lob, 1xBet becoming the official sponsor of Challenger Tour Tennis, which brings more prize money to the players, but we have gambling being promoted on every tennis court in all challengers in nice big white paint. I think I know where I'm going to see you going on this, but you always throw me for a loop, so let's get at it.
No, I'm 100% dropping this. I actually think in the near future that betting will not be able to be promoted. You won't be able to promote betting or sports betting sites. Obviously, this has been huge, not only in the NBA, MLB, UFC, but back in the day, Brazilian João Sousa was founded of illegal fixing of matches. Do I think it's happening in tennis? 100%. You're telling me at that lower level, you can't find these people at their clubs and go up to them and ask them to fix matches when they're only winning like $5,000 to win the whole tournament in an ITF? You're out of your mind. So I'm not anti or pro sports betting, but when it has to do with promoting it and being linked to players, it just gets a little fishy. And I actually think that we'll see less of it moving forward in years to come.
Well, that 6-year contract they just signed for promotional would probably say a little bit different too, but we'll find out how that goes along as we watch it progress. And I did get that topic, I will say, first of all, from watching Challenger Tour and being like, ooh, betting on the court, interesting. And second of all, Andy Roddick went on an extensive tangent about it on his podcast, Serve Podcast. He had a pretty similar viewpoint to you on the subject. Drop or lob, Sinner will win more majors than Alcaraz by the end of his career. I was very big on it being Alcaraz, maybe even a couple months ago. Now I'm not so sure. What do you think?
Such a tough question. I'm going to say lob, that he will win more. It's such a tough question, but I think that he'll win more because of his consistency. And the only thing that would not to happen would be that he's just been injured a lot. I worry about that long run and whether that, he is fragile. His body's been known to be fragile. But I'm going to say lob. He's very consistent. So I'll take him to get more than Carlos.
I think that everyone's their own player, but I think that the closest comps I could make would be Sinner, Djokovic, Alcaraz, Nadal, and Djokovic did grab more there. The only difference being that Djokovic is younger than Rafa. Alcaraz is younger than Sinner. Assuming nobody comes around in the next decade and a half that's competitive, Alcaraz could be sneaking a couple in after Sinner's retirement. But if we knew what the future would hold like that and we had a big crystal ball in front of us, we would not have many problems in life. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I'm sure we will revisit this topic dozens of times at the least.
I just want to say one thing between the Sinner and Alcaraz rivalry. If I were them, and because they're very, very good friends, I would make a gentleman's agreement.
I said this earlier.
To switch off every Grand Slam. And you know what?
I said this earlier.
They might already be doing it.
I said earlier, I was like, they're such good friends. They're always there. Are they doing it? I highly, highly, highly doubt it. But it'd be so easy for them to just be like, I'll see you in the finals and like we can go party the night before. We'll flip a coin for
it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're not playing, by the way. we're not implying they do this. We are not stupid, but it would be funny. We are just emphasizing that it would be funny and technically possible. It would also be very funny for them to get in trouble for that if they were actually doing it and to see other people's viewpoints on it.
Right. And I think that it would be the smart thing to do, because if you trade off 2 Grand Slams for the next 10 years, you're both going to end up with 20. And then, okay, there's 2 here or there, but if you both pass Djokovic, you're both going to be the greatest of all time. If I were them, and it was also good for, I would 100% do it.
Wait until somebody else comes up that's better than them and they realize they regret it. Anyway.
We'll see.
Drop or lob? Holger Rune finishes next year in the top, I'm going to edit this to the top 75. He's currently out with a serious injury. He's been posting about his rehab on Instagram. His performance was relatively unimpressive to end this year. He was sitting top 5 around the end of 2023, 2024. He was sitting closer to top 15 at the end of this year. He's now going to come back from a pretty serious injury. And we're going to say that for this question, we're assuming he comes back in more of the middle of the year. If he comes back later in the year, we'll just say reaches the top 75 within 6 to 9 months of returning.
Couple things. I'll drop it. But does anybody really care? He's so irrelevant. You know, I've never met someone who is like a top player that's more irrelevant. Is anybody his fan? I will say, though, I saw on his social media that he was putting in work. I saw him hitting forehands on a chair, and he's been in the gym, which I love to see when you're injured. But again, does anybody care about Holger Rune?
I mean, I cared enough to.
Exactly. Let's move on from this guy. Let's not give him any more time.
I'm a fan. Maybe someday he'll do something decent. He's let me down a lot, though. I'll say that. Drop or lob, a player that maybe has a little bit more promise coming up. Nathan, myself, will reach a 10 UTR rating by the end of next calendar year and will be able to take Coach Edik in a tennis match next time they play.
So I'm going to drop this on multiple levels. Number one, and this is all out of love. Number one, I was grinding my whole life to get to a 10.5. Okay, so if you think you're going to get to a 10, keep dreaming. And I think that I could go. I think I could go 50-0, and you know, exceed Djokovic's record against Monfils with mine and your head-to-head. But let's not be.
We're sitting close to 10-0 right now, so you got to get started.
Hey man, I think 8 UTR. Let's start with baby steps, okay? 8 UTR, and then
we're 7.55 right now for the people is where we're currently sitting. So baby steps.
Gotta start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere. We'll see where we go. Do you think I'm more likely to reach a 5 or a 10 first?
More likely would be 5 if you lose matches. It's hard to jump very high unless you're planning on beating a couple 10s in the next couple months.
It's me jumping very high. I think it could be achieved, but we will see how it goes. I'm looking forward to the grind. Do I believe it'll happen? Questionable, but if you don't set lofty goals for yourself and work hard towards them, what are you doing? With that being said, I think that's a good place to wrap up this episode of Drop Lob Pod. We're keeping them a little shorter for you guys. Any of our friends are watching, feel free to text us and let us know if you enjoy it being shorter. If any of you guys are watching on YouTube, we're going to try to get ourselves up on some other platforms. Feel free to comment if you guys enjoyed a shorter episode. And starting next week, Coach Edik and I, or at least I'm going to have a little bit more free time. So we're going to start getting some really good guests on here for you guys. A lot of people that are much more successful than either of us in the tennis industry. Some that are maybe about as successful as Coach Edik, maybe even 1 or 2 that are only about as successful as me. But plenty of people, great to talk to, great insights into the game on all different assets and facets. You guys will enjoy them. So we look forward to being back next Sunday at 8 p.m. with episode 6. And for this episode, it's been great. Nathan, and have a great night.
Thanks, Nathan. Don't lose all your money betting.
We're gonna cut that.